Nico Harrison might be the most wanted man in Dallas right now. After that Luka trade, it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, but they did. Throughout this whole thing, I've tried to see both sides because on paper, injuries aside, the Mavericks had a solid squad. With AD, Kyrie, and Max Christie leading the way, strong front court support from Lively and Gafford, and Clay coming off of the bench, they looked like a real threat in the West. But then, in just his debut game against the Rockets, AD went down with an injury. For the optimistic Mavs fans, the silver lining was that at least Kyrie was still healthy, and the hope was that AD would recover in time for the postseason. At that point, it still felt possible for them to make it out of the play-in and pull off an upset. This season was crucial, not just for Nico Harrison's job security, but for the Kyrie AD era in Dallas. With both players aging, this was a make-or-break year. Then against the Kings, disaster struck.
Got Kyrie down here.
At first, I thought it might just be a minor tweak or a hyperextension, but the way he stayed down with his hand trembling signals something far worse. And sure enough, it was confirmed to be a torn ACL, ruling him out for the rest of the season and possibly a large portion of the next one. Major respect to Kyrie for his commitment to the team, because despite the injury, he stayed in the game to knock down both free throws. That kind of toughness reminds me of Kobe shooting free throws after tearing his Achilles, and Klay Thompson doing the same after his ACL injury. That's the level of grit that earns respect. Kyrie has been very loyal to this franchise, yet how did Nico Harrison and the Mavs front office repay him? By blindsiding him and trading his 26-year-old superstar teammate to a rival team within the same conference. That's the part that doesn't get talked about enough. Of all the possible destinations, why send Luka to the Lakers? For one, the Lakers are a big market franchise with the resources, history, and league-wide respect to surround Luka with another star. On top of that, they're direct competition in the West. It's almost as if Nico Harrison actually believed the Mavs could go toe-to-toe with a Luka and LeBron-led Lakers squad year after year and still find a way to the finals. But so far, that gamble isn't looking great, as the Lakers are the 2nd seed while the Mavs are clinging to the 10th. If I were Kyrie, I'd be fed up. The direction this team is heading in doesn't look good. The plan was that without Luka, Kyrie would fully step into the number 1 option role. And while many believe he's better suited as a second option, which I agree with to an extent, he's still a talented enough scorer to take more shots and remain effective. When he falls short as a primary option, though, is in playmaking. As skilled as Kyrie is, he doesn't facilitate at the level that Luka does. And at 32 years old, it's silly to expect him to suddenly develop into that type of player. That didn't stop Jason Kidd from trying, though. After the Luka trade, Kyrie led the league in minutes, averaging 38.9 per game, a heavy workload for a player with his injury history. Kidd's reasoning was clear. The Mavs were desperate to avoid the play-in and secure an actual playoff spot. To his credit, Kyrie delivered, averaging 28.5 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists while shooting 45% from the field and 35% from 3 in his new role. But at some point, all those minutes started to add up. He played 40 minutes against the Lakers, 38 against the Hornets, and another 38 against the Bucks. Then, just 9 minutes into the following game against the Kings, he went down with a non-contact knee injury, which is typically a sign of overuse. I've said it before and I'll say it again, an 82-game regular season is too long. I get that this is the way the NBA has always operated, but from a pure basketball perspective, aside from the financial benefits of selling more tickets, fewer games would mean higher quality matchups and fewer injuries. I understand the argument that reducing games would impact season-long records, but there has to be a way to protect players from these types of injuries, because let's be real, this injury robbed us of what could have been an incredible matchup in the playoffs. Mavs vs. Lakers. Just imagine how thrilling that would have been with all the storylines and bad blood. It would have been must-watch basketball. But instead, the NBA's push to maximize profits cost everybody an exciting series. That being said, Kyrie's injury happened and there's no changing it. While we've already talked about how it impacts the Mavericks, let's focus on how it impacts Kyrie. Kyrie was set to be a major free agent this offseason. He holds a $44 million player option for the 2025-26 season, and the expectation was that he decline it and seek a max contract from the Mavericks. But let's think about this. If the Mavs weren't willing to give Luka a max deal, which was part of the reason they traded him away, why would they turn around and offer the same contract to an older, less dominant player? Logically, it doesn't make any sense. Then again, trading away Luka didn't make any sense either, so anything is possible. Plus, GM Nico Harrison has spent so much time hyping up the Kyrie-AD duo that he may feel obligated to see his vision through. Still, Kyrie's ACL injury definitely hurts his leverage in contract negotiations. Opting into his current deal might be his safest move, just so he remains under contract while he recovers. Before the injury, it made sense for him to test the open market, but now, interest in a 32-year-old undersized guard coming off of a major knee injury is going to be low. ACL tears can be really damaging to guards, especially those who rely on quickness. Look at Rajon Rondo. After his ACL injury, he was never the same. Some of that had to do with the NBA's shift towards three-point shooting, which exposed his weaknesses as a floor spacer, but it also showed how much a loss of quickness can impact a player's game. There's a real chance that when Kyrie returns, he won't be the same player we're used to seeing. He might lose a step, and locking heavy minutes could become a challenge. That's what makes this situation so tough for him. His best option might be to stay with a franchise that, in some ways, betrayed him. Sure, he's close with Anthony Davis, but it's hard to believe that he truly thinks trading Luka was a good move. And just think about the situation this puts AD in. There's really no reason for him to play another game for the Mavericks this season. Without Kyrie, this team isn't going to go anywhere. Are we supposed to believe that Spencer Dinwiddie is going to suddenly turn back the clock and play like his Brooklyn self? I highly doubt it. At this point, AD might as well shut it down and focus on getting healthy, and he's not the only one dealing with injuries. Jaden Harvey also went down against the Kings, while Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford are both sidelined. Gafford is expected to return in about a month, but Lively is likely out for the rest of the regular season. On top of that, Caleb Martin, who the Mavs traded for by giving up Quentin Grimes, has yet to play a single game. Meanwhile, Grimes has been thriving elsewhere, recently dropping 44 points against the Warriors and a 30-piece against the Timberwolves. Man, so much has gone wrong with this roster, and now there are rumors that the Mavericks might try to go after Kevin Durant. Sure, there was talks years ago about Kyrie, AD, and KD possibly teaming up in Boston when Kyrie was there, so maybe this is their chance to finally make that happen. But honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. The Mavs seem like the type of team that could easily get fleeced in this deal. For one, Nico Harrison has already proven to be a terrible GM, and on top of that, they're desperate enough to throw away anything the Suns want at them just to make it seem like their experiment hasn't completely failed. But if I'm KD, why would I want to go to Dallas? I've seen how this front office operates, how they've gone behind players' backs and made huge moves without even telling them. A player like Luka should have been looped in on a trade involving himself, but he wasn't. If I were KD, just based on how this front office handles things, I'd take my talents elsewhere. All in all, it's crazy how badly this new era of Mavericks basketball has gone. Most people expected it to fail, but no one thought it would unravel this fast, and yet here we are. But what do you think? What's the future of the Mavericks looking like? Tell me in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.